"Where did everyone go?" Ethan asked, still trying to sound unimpressed. They were sitting on the roof of a 5-story apartment block, one of dozens, each building cracked, hollow, and sunburned by years of neglect. The whole neighborhood looked like something the town tried to forget and failed. Ethan Mercer had moved here 2 months ago. He still didn't know where he fit. But tonight he was up there with 2 guys who acted like they owned the school. "People just vanished," said Ben Holloway, a thick-necked kid built like he was already 20. He spoke with the confidence of someone who never had to run. "That's not what happened," snorted Tyler Blake, older, louder, the kind of guy teachers tolerated because he was from a complicated home. Tyler was going into 8th grade, and Ethan hated how badly he wanted Tyler to like him. "Nobody vanished. This is Redfield, old mining town. Coal, then the quarry. They expanded the pit. The whole block got tagged as a hazard zone. Families got moved into new developments." Tyler dangled his legs off the roof and spat down like he'd learned it from a movie. "There used to be a daycare, a movie theater, even a little stadium," Tyler added. "My dad grew up here, said the town had its own team." Ethan peered over the edge. Below them, Memorial Street baked in the summer heat, quiet, buzzing with insects. Partially collapsed houses spilled their insides onto the sidewalks like broken dolls. Torn walls exposed empty apartments, rooms with missing floors, hanging wallpaper, and black windows that felt like they were watching back. Young trees pushed through cracks in the asphalt. Overgrown shrubs climbed stairwells and swallowed doorways. Trash lay in heaps, and a mangy dog limped along the curb, flicking flies from its ribs with a tired tail. The sky was turning red, same rusty red as the man-made hills beyond the neighborhood, where the quarry ate the earth one mouthful at a time. "Yeah," Ethan said, forcing a shrug. "That's what I thought." Ben kicked a twisted antenna with his boot. "Sure," he said, "but people really did disappear. Just later." Ethan waited for Tyler to laugh it off, to call Ben an idiot. Instead, Tyler's expression tightened. "3 a year," Tyler said. "At least. Mostly kids. And yeah, sometimes they find them." He let the sentence hang a little too long. Ethan's stomach cooled. Tyler scanned the nearby roofs and empty windows like he expected something to wave. "They say something lives here," Tyler said, "on Memorial Street." Ethan didn't believe in ghosts. He hadn't since he was 7. But something inside him, small, old, and embarrassed, shifted awake. The part of him that used to close his closet doors before bed so the dark couldn't stare at him through the crack. "Ghosts aren't real," Ethan said, a little too loudly. "Maybe," Tyler replied. "Maybe it's not a ghost. Maybe it's just her." "Her?" Tyler glanced at Ben. Ben raised his eyebrows like, should we even tell him? Ethan hated that moment. Hated being the new kid. Hated needing permission to be included. "Well," Ethan said, "if you're gonna start, finish it." Tyler exhaled like he was doing Ethan a favor. "You notice the street name?" he asked. Ethan frowned. "Memorial Street." "Yeah." "He did," Tyler said. "It used to be called that for a reason. There's a statue down at the old community center. A girl. They put it up after the war." Ben leaned closer, lowering his voice like the street could hear them. "Local legend," Ben said. "They made documentaries and everything." Tyler nodded. "Her name was Nora Caldwell," Tyler said. "Redfield's brave little messenger. During World War II, this town ran supplies through back routes, miners, families, anyone who could help. Nora was just a kid. She'd sneak food and notes to people hiding out past the quarry access road." Ethan swallowed. So, Tyler said, "someone caught her." Ben couldn't help himself. "They didn't kill her right away," Ben whispered. "They kept her, tried to make her talk. Ethan's skin prickled. And she didn't, Tyler continued, voice flat. They say she never gave up names, never gave up the roots, never gave up the people. And she died, Ben said, almost pleased with the drama. Ethan tried to stay detached, tried to stay cool, but his eyes kept drifting to the windows below, black squares in crumbling walls, like they were holes in something bigger. And now? Ethan asked. Now she haunts the street? Tyler shrugged. People started seeing her years later, he said. A girl in an old-style dress, sometimes near the park, sometimes near the quarry fence. Always at night. Ben licked his lips. Some say she protects the street, Ben said. Others say if you see her, you'll be dead in 2 weeks. Tyler's mouth tilted in a smile that didn't reach his eyes. After Redfield emptied out, he said, people said she stayed, like she didn't know the war ended, like she doesn't know who's who anymore. Ethan scoffed, because he had to. Why would she hurt anyone? He said. If she was a hero, Tyler's gaze slid to Ethan. Maybe she was, he said, when she was alive. Ben leaned in, suddenly excited. And the best part? Ben whispered. They say she's not whole anymore. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Ben's grin widened. She's got a hook. Then Ben shouted the last word and jabbed Ethan in the ribs. Ethan yelped, high, humiliating, and Tyler and Ben exploded in laughter. Did you hear that? Ben wheezed, wiping his eyes. That sound! Dude, do it again! Ethan's face burned. Whatever, he muttered. I knew you were messing with me. Tyler stood, brushing dust from his shorts. All right, he said. Enough. We've got something to do before it gets dark. What? Ethan asked. Tyler jerked his head toward the broken stairwell leading down from the roof. You're new, he said. We don't know you. If you want to hang with us, prove you're not a coward. Ethan's throat tightened. How? Tyler's smile returned, thin, practiced. Easy, he said. Take a right. There's the old community center. Out front is the statue. In the base, there's a crack. We hid something there last time. Ben pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and waved it like a prize. Bring it back, Ben said. Then you're in. Ethan hesitated. He looked down Memorial Street, long, empty, rust red in the dying sun. The dog that had been rooting in trash was gone, because it was alone. A small voice inside Ethan whispered, because nobody stays alone here. Ethan's fear wasn't of ghosts, it was of being laughed at. Fine, he said. Good, Tyler replied. And don't take forever. We're not waiting all night. They climbed down through the building and out into the street. Inside, the stairwell was littered with old photographs, postcards, school portraits, faces smiling in a world that no longer existed. Ethan stepped around them like they were fragile. Tyler and Ben kicked through the debris, raising dust like they enjoyed disturbing things that were meant to stay buried. When they reached the street, Tyler stopped. Go, he said. Ethan nodded and started walking. To keep his nerves from spiraling, he talked to himself under his breath like it was a joke. A hook, he muttered. Yeah, sure. Next you'll tell me there's a killer clown under the statue, or a monster in the sewer. He almost felt better. Almost. Then he glanced back. Tyler and Ben were gone. His mouth went dry. The street behind him was empty. His footsteps sounded too loud. He turned right at the fallen street lamp and followed a path toward a small square where shrubs and lilac bushes wrapped the old community center like a green collar. The building's columns still stood, but ivy crawled up the yellowed brick, and a sapling had rooted itself between the front steps like nature was reclaiming the entrance. In the middle of the square stood the statue, a girl, slightly taller than Ethan, hand raised as if in a vow. Once white, now stained with rust-red dust from the quarry. The expression was hard to read from a distance, generic, almost mass-produced. As Ethan drew closer, the face sharpened. The statue's features didn't look heroic up close. They looked exhausted, hollow-eyed, not brave, enduring, like someone who had stared at pain long enough that pain stopped being a threat and became a job. Ethan stared at the cracks around the statue's legs. The buildings around it had fallen apart, but the fragile statue still stood. Something snapped behind a rotting bench. A branch. Ethan jerked so hard he nearly stumbled. He stared into the shrubs. Nothing moved. Wind, he whispered. Just wind. He crouched at the base and found the crack immediately, big enough to fit his hand. The inside of the base was hollow, like a little cave. "Don't," the child voice in his head begged. "Don't put your hand in there." Ethan swallowed hard. "No," he hissed, mostly at himself. "Not backing out now." He slid his fingers into the crack. Empty. He pushed deeper. His wrist disappeared into the darkness. His fingers brushed plastic. Yes. He hooked his fingertips around it and pulled. Something grabbed him. Not the pack, his hand. Ethan froze. Air left his lungs in one silent gasp. He yanked back, but whatever was inside held him tight, pulling him forward. His cheek pressed against the statue's foot. The sun-warm concrete grounded him, weirdly, like the heat reminded him he was still real, still alive. He ripped backward with everything he had. The grip released. Ethan flew back, his foot slipped, and the ground opened. He fell, crashing into a pile of leaves and branches, and the world swallowed him. Above, voices shouted. Tyler's voice. "What did you do, idiot?" Ben's voice, panicked, too close. "I didn't do anything. I just grabbed him like we planned. Where'd he go?" Then silence. Then Tyler again, tight, furious. "Ben, there was a cover here. We didn't see it." Ben made a sound like he was about to cry. They stepped close. "Ethan!" Ben shouted. "Ethan, answer! We didn't mean—" A beam of light swept down, Tyler's flashlight. For a second, it cut through darkness and showed the bottom. Ethan lay face down, twisted wrong, too still. Ben sobbed. Tyler's voice turned cold. "He's dead," Tyler said. "We're leaving." "What?" Ben choked. "We have to—" Tyler grabbed Ben by the shoulder. "You want your life ruined?" Tyler hissed. "You want cops at your house? You want your mom crying on the news?" Ben shook his head, crying openly now. Tyler leaned closer. "Then listen," he whispered. "We split at the entrance. We never came here. We never saw him. If anyone asks, Ethan ran off. He got mad. He left. Got it?" Ben's face crumpled. Tyler squeezed harder. "Got it?" Ben nodded. They left, and the hole above Ethan went dark again. When Ethan woke, it was fully night. He spat leaves from his mouth and lifted his head, coughing until his throat burned. The air down here smelled like damp dirt and old rot. His first thought was stupidly hopeful. It was a prank. Tyler and Ben would come back. They'd laugh, help him out, and then, maybe, he'd be part of something. Then he moved his leg. Pain flashed so bright it almost made him vomit. Not broken, maybe, but badly twisted. Ethan looked up. A circle of purple-black sky hovered far above. The hole wasn't a simple fall. This was a storm drain access shaft, deep, slick, and narrow. He shouted, "Tyler! Ben! Stop messing around! I can't climb out!" No answer. He shouted again until his voice rasped. Still nothing. Something moved in the leaves beside him. A shape, long tail, low body, slipped through the dark. A rat. Ethan didn't mind rats. He'd had a pet rat once, gentle and smart. But sewer rats weren't pets. They were hunger with teeth. He realized what the leaves were. Not a floor, a blanket, covering whatever lived beneath. He swallowed nausea and forced himself up. On the wall, metal rungs, old ladder steps, stuck out in two vertical lines, rusted but solid enough. He set his injured foot onto the first rung and gritted his teeth. Up. Another rung. Up. Higher. Pain became noise. Panic became fuel. He climbed until his arms shook, until the rungs stopped. Only smooth, wet concrete remained between him and the edge. 1 impossible meter. Ethan clung there, breathing hard, tears hot behind his eyes. And then he heard a voice above. "Hold on there, kid!" A silhouette appeared at the top of the shaft, broad shoulders, a head leaned over the opening. Ethan didn't think. He reached up. A warm hand grabbed his. A hard pull, and Ethan spilled out into the night. The moon hung over the community center like a cracked tooth. Insects droned, relentless. Ethan lay on the ground for a second, tasting the word saved like it was candy. Then he looked up. A man, maybe mid-40s, lean, friendly face, a faded sports team logo on his t-shirt, thin hair, soft and wispy. He smiled like he was proud. "Man," the stranger said, shaking his head. "You got some fight in you." Ethan scrambled upright. "Thank you," he said fast. "Thank you so much." The man held up a coil of rope. "I ran to grab this," he said. "Didn't think you'd make it that far yourself." "You heard me?" "Yeah," the man said. "I was picking plums by the fence line. Saw 2 kids sprinting like they'd seen a ghost. I followed them to the highway. Then came back, saw the open cover. You were down there, not moving at first." Ethan's stomach turned. "I passed out," he said. "Probably," the man replied, nodding like it was nothing. "You heard anything?" Ethan tested his ankle and flinched. "Just twisted," he lied. "I think." The man's expression hardened. "Those kids push you?" he asked. Ethan looked away. "No, it's complicated." The man clicked his tongue. "Should call the police," he said. "This place attracts bad types." Ethan swallowed. "Do you have a phone?" he asked. "I need to call my parents." The man spread his hands. "Nope," he said. "I don't mess with tech." Ethan blinked. "You don't?" "I'm old school," the man continued, smiling. "Kids today, always on screens. My son's your age, pale as paper, doesn't go outside. Me? When I was young, sports, soccer, goalkeeper." He tapped his chest like he was introducing himself to a crowd. Ethan tried to step back. "My parents, I know this area," the man said, suddenly brisk. "Come on, I'll walk you out." A car horn sounded somewhere far off near the quarry road. The man tightened his grip on Ethan's arm. "Let's go," he said, pulling him forward. "Not so fast," Ethan protested. "My ankle." Yeah, the man said, but he didn't slow down. Ethan glanced back toward the square and froze. The statue was gone. Not fallen, gone. Only 2 broken legs remained on the base, jagged stumps like something had been torn away. "Where's the statue?" Ethan whispered. The man stopped, turning his head like he didn't understand. "What statue?" "The girl," Ethan said, voice thin. "The statue. It was right there." The man stared into the square for a second, then shrugged. "Probably toppled," he said. "Doesn't matter. Don't look back." They entered a tree-choked walkway between the buildings. Ethan tried again. "Sir, I need a phone." "No phone," the man said lightly. "But we'll figure it out. I'll get you somewhere warm, get you tea, then we'll call." The way he said it made Ethan's stomach tighten. The man kept talking about his old team, about matches, about good old days. Names and places Ethan didn't recognize. Then, suddenly, a ringtone cut through the night. Ethan's heart stopped. The man smiled apologetically and pulled a smartphone from his pocket. He pressed it to his ear. "Hello?" he said warmly. "Hey, sweetheart. Yeah, I'm out at the garden, planting stuff. I'll be home soon. Love you. Love you too." He hung up. Ethan took one step back. "You said you don't have a phone," Ethan whispered. The man's eyes glittered in the moonlight like wet stones. He grinned. "Little piggy trick," he sang softly. Then he snorted twice, playful, grotesque. Ethan turned and ran, or tried to. His ankle screamed and he stumbled into a limp sprint down the trash-strewn sidewalk. The man caught him in 3 strides, scooped him up like a ball. Ethan struggled, kicking. The man's arms were strong, too strong, and they trembled like something inside him was excited. "Got you," the man whispered, breath sweet with mint. "No tantrums. I'm taking you somewhere safe." Ethan tried to scream. The man carried him into a building, up the stairs. Ethan's injured foot banged against each step, forcing sharp little cries from him. Second floor, a corridor with peeling paint, a new lock on an old door. The man set Ethan down and, with practiced speed, tied his wrists, then his ankles. Ethan fought until the rope bit into him so hard his limbs went numb. The man flicked on a small flashlight, painting everything in sick yellow. "Stay put," he said pleasantly, pushing Ethan into a corner. He unlocked the door, then paused, shining the flashlight on the wall. A child's drawing of a train, crude wagons, and a crooked message beneath it. The man chuckled, spit on his finger, and smudged the paint like he'd done it before. Then he drew one more wagon, like he was signing his name. He turned back to Ethan, smile wide. "Welcome," he said. Inside, the apartment was nearly empty. No furniture, no lights, just dust, junk, and something pinned to the wall, a faded sports pennant. Flies buzzed louder in here, angry at being disturbed. "Sorry about the mess," the man said casually, and shoved Ethan to the floor. Something squeaked under Ethan's shoulder, a rubber duck toy. Ethan's throat burned. "What do you want?" he managed. "Money? My parents." The man laughed, genuine amusement. "You watch too many movies," he said. "I don't need your money. I work. I earn. Honest." Ethan's stomach rolled. "Please," he whispered. "Let me go. I won't tell anyone." "Oh, stop," the man said gently. "I'm not keeping you. I'm protecting you. This neighborhood's dangerous. Gangs, addicts. You're lucky I found you." He reached into his belt loop and pulled out a leather belt. Ethan flinched. "You play soccer?" the man asked, almost cheerful. "With your stamina, you'd be valuable on a field." Ethan opened his mouth to answer. The belt cracked across his face, metal buckle. "White-hot pain." Ethan went silent, shocked. The man blinked like he was confused. "Me?" he said. "Hit you? Don't be dramatic." The belt snapped again. Ethan tasted blood. "You'll get caught," Ethan choked. "By who?" the man asked. "Nobody comes here. Nobody stays here. It's just me. Just me." He leaned in. "I'm the little pig," he whispered. "The one you can't catch." Ethan's vision swam. Then, through the buzzing flies and his own heartbeat, he heard something else. A metal sound. Soft. Distant. Clink, clink. Not inside the room. Outside. In the hallway. Ethan's eyes snapped to the door. The sound came again, closer. Clink, clink. Like metal striking concrete. Like steps. The man paused, listening. "Do you hear that?" Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. The man tilted his head. Clink, clink. Now right outside the apartment. The man frowned. "Nice try," he muttered. "Trying to scare me." Clink, clink. It stopped at the door. Ethan swallowed hard. "It's her," he whispered. "Her?" The man's eyes narrowed. "The girl," Ethan said. "From Memorial Street." The man forced a laugh. "A statue ghost," he scoffed. "Come on." But fear had changed his face, just slightly, like a mask shifting. Ethan saw it, and, for the first time since the drain, he did something impossible. He smiled. "Go check," Ethan whispered. The man's jaw tightened. Then he lifted his chin like he refused to lose control. "Fine," he said. "I'll check. And then we'll drink cocoa, and you'll calm down." He walked into the hallway, narrating like he was proving something to himself. "Here I go," he said loudly. "Here I am at the door. Who's there, I ask? And..." He unlocked the door, opened it, and went perfectly still. For one long breath, Ethan heard nothing. Then, something moved fast. A pale shape flashed in the doorway. A heavy impact, a brittle crack. The man stumbled backward, making a sound that wasn't a scream, but wanted to be. A broken piece of statue skidded across the floor. And then she entered. She had to duck beneath the doorframe. The statue's torso, skirt, and head were intact, stained rust red, cracked and worn. But below the skirt there were no legs, just two long rods of corroded metal, rebar, like stilts, stepping carefully. Clink, clink. Her left arm remained, a raised vow. Her right arm was not an arm at all. A thick metal rod protruded from her shoulder like an unfinished limb. She moved smoothly, patiently, not like an animal, like an executioner who had all night. The man backed into the wall, eyes wide. "So it's real," he whispered. The rod arm lifted. Ethan couldn't look away. The man tried to speak, tried to bargain, but the sound died in his throat. The statue closed the distance, and the metal rod drove forward with a dull, final force. The man's body went rigid. His eyes rolled. And then he sagged, sliding down the wall like a puppet whose strings had been cut. The statue withdrew the rod. The man collapsed. Silence. Then, slowly, she turned to Ethan. Ethan forgot how to breathe. She stepped into the room. Clink, clink. Her hollow eye sockets fixed on him. "I'm not one of them," Ethan's voice came out broken. I'm not the enemy." The rod hand hovered near his chest. Ethan waited for pain, for the end. Instead, the rod slid down, precise, delicate, and severed the rope binding his wrists. The pressure vanished. Ethan stared at his free hands like he didn't recognize them. The statue tilted her head slightly, as if listening to something only she could hear. Then she turned and left. In the hallway, she hooked the man's body with the rod arm and dragged him out of sight. Clink, clink, clink. Gone. Ethan sat in the darkness for a long time before he could stand. When he finally limped out of the building, the square was empty again. No statue, no footsteps, only the moon above the community center. Ethan ran, limping, gasping, until the abandoned blocks fell behind him and the streetlights of the real town returned. He never told his parents what happened. Not about Tyler, not about Ben, not about the man with the mint breath, and not about the girl, because deep down he understood something that made his blood run cold. If he spoke her name too loudly, she might listen. And far behind him, on Memorial Street, the girl stood watch, waiting, not for visitors, for intruders. And when someone reached into the hollow base of her monument looking for cigarettes, they would find something else. Something that didn't belong to them.